down the hammer and pick up the pencil. You're about to listen to the Savvy Radio Show. Learn from real-life real estate investors, experience revealed with the Savvy Landlord as your host.
Bang, bang. Welcome to the Savvy Radio Show. I'm actually excited. You know why? I have one fan out there, one homie out in the trenches, dying at the cross, and email me some questions. Now, he emailed me these questions 2 days ago, and it's just now I'm getting it on the radio, but I'm actually excited about these questions. First of all, they're all over the place. So if you've never tuned into the radio show, the Savvy Radio Show, you may never come back because we're going to be chasing rabbits here in a minute. But we're going to get my boy set up. Much love, and I'm going to break these off. My questions are, sir, good banks to refinance with. Well, the first thing that you need to think about when you're dealing with banks, are they real estate friendly? Not all banks are the same. So you got to think about that logically. You don't want to waste time. If you have a full-time job, I'm assuming this individual does, excuse me, but, cut to the chase, get the banks that all the other real estate investors are using. You can find that at your real estate club. Be strategic. Don't run up on somebody, hey, man, what bank you working with? But if you can hang out, and I'm going to tell you the banks I'm working with because I want you to use them because they'll ask you, how'd you hear about you? And they'll say, Savvy Steven, which will give me kudos, maybe a free meal at the old steak shop, which I don't eat steak, but still I'll get a salad and it'll be all gravy. So you got to find good banks. So when rookies come to me, I'm like, call the bank up and ask them, how do you loan money? Is it on ARV or is it on contract price? You can hire a VA to do that. We should hire a VA to call every effing bank in Oklahoma and find out which ones are loan off of ARV and which is after appraised value. So regardless if it's a drive-by appraisal or a full-blown appraisal, where do you loan off of? These banks these days after regulation only loan you on the contract price. Oh, it's 80%. But if you're savvy, which you should be because you tuning into the radio show, you get a house for $100,000, you get it under contract for $50,000, and the effing, the bank says we only do it on the contract price. So 50,000 times 0.80, they're only going to give you 40,000. So that's 10 G's out of your pocket plus the rehab. That's not going to work for a savvy investor. That's you. So if it's $100,000 crib, that's what it's worth times point. And most banks that do on ARV are about 75, 80. That would be 75,000. Well, you bought it for 50. You could get cash at closing. I know I'm moving fast. I want to knock this podcast out in 30 minutes. People only have a lunch break. Got to get on it. So that's how you do a no money down deal. Now, what you can do, a way to sidestep the ghetto banks, not the ghetto banks, but the banks that only go off of contract price, you can swoop it up with a line of credit or use hard money or private money. And this is called acquisition money or transactional funding. Hey, I need you to loan me, $50,000 for 3 months, interest only. I will loan you that money for that short amount of time for a $1,500 fee, and then you refinance it out and you get the $75,000 back when you refinance. Any bank will refinance you if you have it under contract. Some banks will be 30 days or 90 days. A bank you never want to deal with that has to be seasoned at 6 months. Okay, that means they're an antiquated bank. They don't understand what you're doing. So you call the bank. How long do I can tell you right now, McClain Bank. They don't care if you own that bank, if you own that house 1 day, 1 week, 1 year. If you want to refinance it, and they do ARV, their appraisals are a little bit lower, but they'll do 80%, 5.25%, 15-year. You could probably pimp out a 20-year AM. There's your money. So that $1,500 is just the cost of doing business. You should be able to do no money down deals. You do all the hard work, finding the deal, propping the deal. You can get funding. So let me just cut to the chase because I know you want to know, well, what banks do you use? What banks do you use? Well, here's a list of banks that I use. Well, I don't use this bank, but as I know, Maybe if you text me or email me, I might send this to you. But if you got a fast hand, you can write notes. Sooner State Bank in Oklahoma City. Great bank. Guy's name there is Toby. And they are real estate friendly. These guys started in loaning money. That's what they do. They're experts in loaning money, and they love real estate because it's collateralized. Their terms are pretty different. They like 11-year mortgages. They like you to have skin in the game. They're not a no money down bank, but they can do some creative stuff. I've seen them with some of my friends do an acquisition loan and do a rehab loan, basically do two loans to acquire the asset. Now, it's probably got to be around 70% ARV, but they have done that. I've seen it. It's in Oklahoma City. They're a small, tiny bank. How do you find out if they're a small, tiny bank? Google them up, joker. Go to their webpage, find out who their CEO, what's their asset column. Here's my rule of thumb. Any bank that's $250 million or below is a great bank to work with, and it must be a community bank, and find out if they're working with real estate investors. Okay. Now there's a really good friend, a real estate investor, mentor and friend. He's been using that bank for 20 years. A lot of investors use them. I've never needed to use them, but I've seen them work with young people that just get started, not young in age, but young in starting. And they've done some creative real estate deals even outside of Oklahoma City in the little town of Guthrie. Now, that I'm not sure. I'm assuming they're like $150, $200 million bank. A bank that I use for acquisitions is my Bing, Bing, Boom, Boom, Bang, Bang, Bank. It is First Security Bank and Trust. That's their business model is real estate. That's what they do. So now their terms. Now remember that bank I quoted a minute ago, McClain Bank. That's six. They're 5.25%, 5.5%. This bank is 6.5% and higher. I even heard 7% the other day. Oh God. Does it really matter? Maybe we'll do another episode on interest rates. Your goal is to acquire assets. If you pay an extra point, freaking do it. Their points are a little bit higher. They have a little bit higher fees, but they'll do cash at closing if you build a respect with them. They have a decent, they're just an easy bank to work with because they know what you're doing, and they're real estate investors themselves. So that's First Security Bank, Oklahoma City. Now, here's a $1 billion bank. Yep, I said billion. First United Bank, Oklahoma City, has been dominating. They're from Durant, Oklahoma. That's their headquarters. But they have a savvy real estate gangster, amazing friend named Evan Rink. That this guy he was in the mail room, and now he's a commercial loan officer. One day this dude will be somebody. He's assistant vice president, which is just a title, no disrespect. But the deal with Evan is that he understands real estate, and he, of course, is someone above him in underwriting. Maybe I should break an episode off on how this whole banking thing works. But that's a good bank if you want to refinance. So this is how I do it. I would use First Security Bank to do the acquisition because it would be technically a no money down deal because they do ARV. I bulk up 4 or 5 units there, and then I refinance it. Like I'll get $50,000 houses, which is a yield of $500,000, and I'll get a loan there, and it will be a way better interest rate. It'll be a 5.25% or 5.5%, probably a 15-year AM. Again, you can probably squeeze out 20. And I use that bank to refinance with, and then I use McClain Bank down in Purcell Normal. They're a $250 million asset bank. And so those banks right there there's gobs of banks. All American on Reno is a great bank. You might want to do First Liberty Bank. I don't know. I don't want to say anything good or bad, but they have a great loan officer in there. His name is Frank Craig. He loves real estate. They have a lot more procedures and policies on what they need to do. There's another bank, Citizens of Edmond is a real estate friendly bank that I've heard from. There's tons of them out there. There's at least 20 or 30 banks in Oklahoma City that do real estate. They're in small towns, okay? Stillwater Bank is a big real estate bank. Listen to this. Now you're going to blow your mind on this one. My wife went to high school, and graduated with 36 people. Now, I went to high school. There was 1,000. Like I'm from Richmond, California. So 1,000. My class was 1,000. Let me say it one more time. 1,000. My wife, 36. I mean, like, how do you make out with somebody? Because everybody knows somebody. But I was talking to this gangster real estate investor who is sophisticated. And I was like, yo, what bank do you use? Like when you say to build a relationship and find more banks, you ask another real estate investor and say, hey man, I'm using First Security Bank. They're doing a good job. These are their rates. Who are you using? And he said, that's how you get them to tell them where the bank is. He said, Bank of Hydro, Oklahoma. I'm like, what? Every other weekend or whatever, I go down to Hydro to see my father-in-law, and I drive by that bank. And I was like, bro, what's that dude's phone number? And he's like, he gave me his phone number. What's the dude's name? This guy, this real estate investor, borrows money an hour away from Oklahoma City. That bank drives an hour to Oklahoma City to get this real estate investor to sign off on the loan. Dude, small town banks are amazing. Now, I'm assuming in Hydro, Oklahoma, remember my wife had 36 people graduated class. I mean, they have like one gas station. That's it. I mean, I would say they're like a $30 million bank. I mean, they're probably bigger because there's farmland and agriculture out there, but no more than a $75 million bank. That's the type of banks that you want to deal with. That's the question. That was 11 minutes and some change. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to hit stop right here, and I'm going to answer all of his questions in separate episodes to get this dude juicy. So he has to tune in tomorrow to the Savvy Radio Show. I was intense today because I got love for you. I'm so juiced up because my boy's juiced up. He's at the crossroads. He's dying on the trenches. He's got to get a dumpster, and he doesn't know where to get a dumpster, and he's struggling. So let me give him some hope. Much love to my friend out there. I don't want to shout out his name, but he knows who he is. Much love. If you got a question, let me know because I want to get juicy with you. This is the Savvy Radio Show.
Thanks for listening to the Savvy Radio Show. Glide online and listen to our other motivating episodes at SavvyRadioShow.com. Connect on Twitter at LandlordBook and always be buying assets.